All right, so first things first, what do we have to figure out? What do we have to figure out? Gabe. Right, so we have to figure out what a polygon is. So tell me some characteristics of a polygon. Samantha, tell me one.
The lines can't cross.
Okay, so no crossing lines. All right, and yes, you should be writing this down if it will focus. All right, so no crossing lines. What else do we know about a polygon?
It has to be closed.
Okay. Closed shape. All right, what else? Not 5 or more. Not 5 or more. Everly.
It's formed by straight lines.
Okay, so straight lines. All right, what's the big one though? We're missing a big one. So it's a closed shape, straight lines, no crossing lines, but it has to have at least what? Ansley? No. Zach?
4 sides.
Not 4. Because it's a triangle, a polygon.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has to have at least what? At least 3 sides. It can't be 2. Oh. All right, so now knowing what a polygon is, or refreshing our minds of polygons, do you want to move some of your shapes around?
Yep.
Okay, if you want to move some of your shapes around, take 30 seconds and move them around for me. Shh, we're not talking, you're just simply doing this. All right, so you guys are going to tell me yes or no for polygon. Yes if it's polygon, no if it's not. All right, this one.
Yes.
All right, so go ahead, glue that one down because we have all agreed that that is a polygon. All right, this one. No, why is this not a polygon? It's got the straight lines, it's got more than 3 because they cross. All right, so glue that down on the non-polygon side. All right, what about this one?
No.
What about the heart?
No.
Raise your hand, tell me why. Someone other than Samantha today. Someone other than Gabe. Gracie.
There's no sides on a heart.
What?
There's no sides on a heart.
There are sides. There are technically are 2 sides. But what's wrong with the sides?
They're not straight.
Right, not straight. All right, what about this one? Yes or no?
No.
Raise your hand, tell me why. Why is this not a polygon? Silas.
Because not all the lines.
Not all the lines are straight. It's kind of like a rainbow. What about this one?
Yes.
All right, tell me why. Ainsley.
Because all the lines are straight and there's no curved or crossing.
And, yep, and it's also a what? Closed? Closed shape?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, what about this one?
No. Yes. No. No.
All right, so some of us are saying yes, some of us are saying no. It meets the closed shape, right? So it's a closed shape. Yeah, it is. It's a closed shape. Guys, listen. It is a closed shape. There's not an open side to it, right? Because all the sides connect. Okay? So it meets that criteria. Does it have at least 3 sides?
Yes.
Okay? Does it have straight lines? No, because the 2 on the bottom do what? They curve. So that is the only reason this is not a polygon. All right, what about these 2?
Yes.
Both of those work?
Yes.
We agree? All right, why? Raise your hand. Why are both of those polygons? Angel,
Because both of them have straight lines
both of them have straight lines. What else?
and they're closed shape.
Okay, and what else?
They have at least 3 sides.
Perfect. All right, what about these two?
Yes.
Okay, raise your hand and tell me why. Tell me why, guys. There's more than just 2 people in here today. So why do these two make it as a polygon? Kira?
There's no crossing lines. The shapes are closed. They both have straight lines, and both have 3 sides, more than 3 sides.
Perfect. Even though the L looking one has more than, it's not like to me, all these shapes are kind of standard. The L one is not, bless you, is not standard. Are you sure it still meets the criteria of a polygon?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. All right, what about this one, and this one?
First one,
Yes, no, yes.
Third one, yes. First
Yes,
one,
no,
yes.
yes.
Second one,
Yes, no, yes. All right, so this one, why is this one a no?
Because it doesn't have
Raise your hand. Why is that one a no? Allison? Because it's curved. It's like a teardrop almost, right? Or a raindrop. It is curved. All right, so we have these 5 shapes left. All right, are any of those polygons, those bottom, the 5 shapes on the bottom that I just put up there, are any of them polygons?
Yes.
All right, raise your hand, tell me which one. Which one? Isaac? Which one?
The second one, the square looking one.
Okay, so the rhombus type looking thing. Isaac, why is that a polygon?
Because it has more than at least, or more than 3 sides. It's a closed shape and there's no crossing lines.
Okay, are there any others? Isaac. All right, so you hesitated. Which one did you hesitate on for a second?
At first I thought the circle was one, but then I realized that it doesn't have like any sides. It's all one side.
Okay, so the circle one definitely is not, even though it's a closed shape, doesn't have those straight sides. What other one up here kind of makes you second guess for a second if it's a polygon or not? Christian? No. What about this one?
Yes.
Why? Raise your hand.
Because it has like curved lines, straight lines.
Right, so it's got the straight lines, but then it kind of throws in those curves at the end, which makes it not a polygon. All right, so I know that this was a lot of cutting and a lot of mindless work, but it's good to know the difference between a polygon. Yes?
You're missing a shape.
I'm missing a shape. Which one?
The triangle.
I probably threw it away. Where does it go?
Polygons.
There you go. Okay. But this is good to know essentially what your polygons are to your non-polygons or not polygons, however you want to say it. All right, get out your notebooks. You need to title the next blank left page Polygons Warm Up and Today's Date. And then you can just turn this page sideways and glue it into your notebook. You are going to need some kind of highlighter, so please get that out. All right, once you get that glued in, slide over to the right side of your page. I'm trying to get both of these on. And put in area guided notes. Let's go. You're done with that, put it away. Okay, so how many of you guys know something about perimeter? Everybody's hand should be up because you've been learning about perimeter since second, third grade. Okay, how many of you guys know something about area? You learned about area last year, so again, every hand should be up. All right, we essentially are starting our geometry unit today. It's going through until December 9th. I don't know what date it is. Essentially, we're going through until December, and then you are testing. So geometry is only going to last 2 weeks, I think. So it's going to be a pretty quick unit because some of it you should already know. Like some of it really should be a review for you guys. All right. So perimeter. If you don't remember what perimeter is, it is the distance around the outside of the shape. Okay, and what do you do to find perimeter? What operation? Let me say it that way. What operation do we do to find perimeter? Blake? No. Again, this is the huge problem. Like, we have got to know the difference. Right now, I don't have time to teach you perimeter. You need to know it, but I don't have time to teach you. So you are doing addition when you're talking about perimeter. All right, area. It's the number of square units on the inside. So what operation do we do for area? Zach.
Sixth grade teachers, please send students who need to have pictures redone to the auditorium at this time. Sixth grade teachers, please send your students on your list for picture retakes to the auditorium at this time. Also, if there are any teachers who have not taken your photo, please do so today. It's for the yearbook. Thank you.
All right, so when you're doing area, you're going to be doing multiplication. So perimeter is the outside, and it's addition, so you're adding up all the numbers on the outside. And area is multiplication. You're going to be multiplying 2 numbers or 3 numbers, depending. So a rectangle is a 4-sided shape made up of 2 sets of parallel lines and 4 right angles. I need to use a different color. That's going to be too hard to see. All right, and then just to refresh our memories, parallel lines are straight lines that will never touch. And then a right angle. Or right angles are 90-degree angles like L's. And then a square is a type of rectangle that has what kind of sides? Like, what is the difference between a square and a rectangle? The biggest difference.
The four sides, like, the rectangle has a smaller side than the front, like the bottom and top one, and the square has a
Have what?
even side.
Okay, we're gonna say equal. All right. So a square is a type of rectangle with equal sides. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, you add all of the sides together. Okay, this is to find perimeter. All right, stand up when you are done with this part. All right, so the area to find the area of a rectangle and square, use the same formula. And the formula is A equals L times W, or length times width. Sometimes people say base times height. That is fine. I don't care if you say base times height or length times width. In our notes, though, it is going to be length times width, so just keep that in mind. So the A equals area, the L equals length, and the W equals width. Throw it in the garbage, I don't care. Take that piece of paper, sit down. All right, so how do we find the perimeter of this rectangle down here? How do we find the perimeter? Alex?
3 plus 3 plus 8 plus 8.
All right, so we only see two numbers, but we have to understand that this is 8 feet and this is 3 feet. And in order to find the perimeter, we have to add up all of the sides. So we're going to do 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3. When you add 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3, what do you get? Raise your hand. So 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3. BK.
22.
So 22 feet. And I will let you know, if you do not include the units, you will not get credit. Okay, you have to include the units. So when you're adding, it's just feet, or it's just the unit that is up on your shape. When you do area, it's going to be squared. And the reason it's squared is because you are multiplying two numbers. Okay, so this time for area, we have to do the length times the width. So, and with a rectangle and a square, it doesn't matter what your length is or what your width is. You can pick either one. So what are we going to consider our length? Isaac?
8.
8. All right, so we're going to do 8 times our width, which is going to be what, Isaac?
3.
All right, so 8 times 3 gives me, Angel? What? 24. And this is where it's different. So it's 24 feet squared. This is going to be the part that kills you guys. That feet squared. You have to add units squared when you're doing area. Okay? So this is perimeter equals, and this is area equals. So thumbs up when you're ready to move on. All right, now we're going to talk about parallelograms. So a parallelogram, if you can think about a rectangle, so your rectangle's here. A parallelogram, you take the corners of your rectangle and you just slide them over. So essentially it's a slanted rectangle or a slanted square. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral. And raise your hand and tell me, what is a quadrilateral? What is a quadrilateral? BK.
A 4-sided shape.
Okay, so it's got 4 sides. It's made up of 2 sets of parallel lines and congruent angles.
What was that?
What?
It was
There's a
showing.
bubble.
Yeah, there's a bubble with the thumbs down.
Huh?
It's been doing that on the FaceTime calls I'm doing my phone.
Oh, I don't know. All right, what does the word congruent mean? I don't care, as long as y'all can read it. What does congruent mean? Raise your hand. What does congruent mean? Because this is important. Got to know what this word means. You're going to see it a lot. Shh. If you don't know, you don't know. Isaac? Yes. Congruent means equal. So it's just another word for the word equal. So we have equivalent, we have equal, we have congruent, all fun stuff. So on a parallelogram, the top and bottom are the same and the slanted sides are the same. The one thing that you need to know is you never use the slants for your height in your parallelograms or your rhombuses. Your height is always going to be that dash, the dotted line. So you're going to make a little star. Never use slanted lines, or slanted, let's say sides, sorry. Slanted sides for height. And that will be the part that you struggle with when you're doing parallelograms or anything with a slant, remembering that that is not your height. The height is not your slanted line. All right, and then a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. All right, thumbs up when you're ready to move on. All right, so parts of a parallelogram. Like I said, this dotted line is going to be your height. That is what you're going to use when you're finding the area of a parallelogram. This is not your height. All right, and then the bottom or the top will be your base. So it doesn't matter if you use the top or the bottom, but that will be your base. Bless you. All right, and then to find the area of a parallelogram, you're going to use the formula A equals B times H, where the A stands for area, the B stands for the base, and the H stands for the height. All right, when you're finding the area of a parallelogram, you will see three numbers. Which two numbers are we using to find the perimeter? Which two numbers are we using to find the perimeter? And raise your hand and refresh my memory. What is your perimeter? Gracie?
Around.
The outside, right? Okay, so if we know that the perimeter is the outside, what are the two numbers that we're going to be using? Kira?
4 and 10.
Yes. So you're going to do 4 plus 10 plus 4 plus 10. Okay, so raise your hand and tell me what is 4 plus 10 plus 4 plus 10. Angel T.
20.
28 inches. Okay? Now, for the area, we're doing base times height. So which two numbers are we using to find the area? So the area is the inside. So what two numbers are we using to find the area? Alex?
The height, the 3-inch, and the 10-inch.
Yes. So we're going to do 3 times 10, which is going to give us 30 inches squared. So again, including that inches squared, do we use the slanted number? No, not when you are finding the area. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Flip your paper over, and then stand up when you're ready to move on. All right, have a seat. All right, so now we are finding the area of a triangle. What I need you to think about when you're talking about triangles is they are half of a rectangle or a square. So essentially, you're taking the base times the height, and then you're multiplying it by half, or you're dividing it by 2, depending on what you want to do. But it is half of the area of a square. So, looking at this rectangle, if I drew a dotted line and made a triangle and said, what is the area of the triangle, would it be 24 or would it be half of 24? Half of 24. So that's kind of the way we want you guys thinking about the area of a triangle. That's why we multiply it by half or divide it by 2. Multiplying it by half, dividing it by 2 is the exact same thing. Make sure, though, that you don't divide it by half and multiply it by 2. That's the difference. Like, that's not the same. But multiplying it by half or dividing by 2 is the same. All right, so a triangle is a 3-sided shape with straight sides. And these are the different types of triangles you're going to see. And even in these triangles, what is still your height? Technically, what is still your height? Okay. So do we use the slanted ones or do we use the dotted straight up and down lines? Dotted straight up and down lines. Now obviously this one is just a straight up and down line. So you're not using the slants for your height. You're still using just a straight up and down line. So if you want to make a note, do not use slanted sides for height. And you're going to hear me say that a ton, but I need you to get that like through your heads because that is going to be what keeps you from passing or failing area with geometry. Okay? You've got to understand that you do not use the slanted lines for the heights. All right, thumbs up when you are ready to go. All right, to find the area of a triangle, you're going to use the formula half times base times height. Again, the A stands for area, B stands for base, and H stands for height. All right, so finding the perimeter, are we using all three numbers? When we find the perimeter of a triangle, do we use all three numbers? Yes, you're using all three numbers because you're finding the outside. So for this one, we're going to do 5 plus 6 plus 2. Raise your hand and tell me what is 5 plus 6 plus 2. Silas? 13. Okay, so we have 13 centimeters. All right. Now, when you're finding the area, you're going to use 5 centimeters and 2 centimeters. And you're going to do half times 2 times 5. So what's half of 2? 1, and 1 times 5. 5. Now, the way that I used to teach it, and the reason we're teaching it this year this way is because in 7th grade, you see it with half times base times height. I used to teach it as 2 times 5 divided by 2. So what's 2 times 5? 10 divided by 2? 5. I'm not going to tell you how to do it one way or the other. What I'm going to tell you is for 7th grade, you have to know and understand this. So, and again, what you're doing when you're doing half your base is you're just cutting your base in half, which is what we did. We cut 2 in half. So this became 1 times 5, which equals 5, right? So it's the same thing. If this is technically A equals base times height divided by 2. If that one makes a little bit more sense to you, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you you have to use one or the other. I just want you to use one of them. Like, you don't have to use this one. You can use this one, but you got to understand this one. Does that make sense? All right, so the next one I want you guys to do as a group. So I want you to do number 2. So find the perimeter and then find the area. Stand up when you guys are done. Because it's Monday and you guys have been off for 5 days. Huh? That was your fault, not mine. I will fight you.
For area, but for perimeter, so we have
Stand up when you have your answers, guys. Zach, do you need a pencil? Alright, let's go ahead and go over this. So for perimeter, which three numbers are you going to use for the perimeter? Which three numbers? Drake, which three numbers did you guys use for the perimeter?
I used 8, 6, and 4.
Okay, why did you guys use 6 and not 5? Drake. Why did you guys use the 6 and not the 5?
Because you're not supposed to use the insides for height.
Okay, and technically you're finding the perimeter, right? So you're finding the outside. So the 5 is telling you the length of your height. It is not telling you the length of your slanted side when you're finding perimeter. So be careful with that one. If you use the 5 for the perimeter, that was wrong. All right, so 8 plus 6 plus 4, what did you guys come up with, Drake?
18.
Okay, so 18 inches. Make sure you guys are including those units. So now we're going to do half the base, which is 4, so half times 4 times, am I using 6 or am I using 5 now?
5.
I'm using the 5. All right, so what's half times 4? What do you get when you do half of 4, Gracie?
2.
So 2 times 5,
10.
Gracie?
10.
10 what?
10 squared.
10 inches squared. Come on, y'all. Like, that's the easy part. You've got to get that part down. All right, how many of you guys use the base times height divided by 2? Anybody? Okay, so when you did base times height, you did 4 times 5, which gave you what? 20. And you divide that by 2, you get 10 inches squared. So again, either way, I'm okay with. I don't care, but I need you to understand both. All right, how do we do with that one? How many of you guys got tricked up on the 6 and the 5? Okay, gotta be careful with that. Shh. So remember, when you're finding perimeter, you don't use the height. When you're finding area, you don't use the slant. Okay, slide over. Last one, trapezoid. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is the first year that I'm gonna teach this formula. And the reason this is the first year I'm teaching this formula is because, again, moving into 7th grade and 8th grade, you really do need the formula for the trapezoid. That does not mean you have to use it. It simply means that it's an option. Now, you can break a trapezoid and you can turn it into a rectangle. A lot of times you can cut it right here and move it over here and you have a rectangle or a square. Okay? You do not always have to do that. Again, we're going to talk about the formula. I want you guys to see how you feel about the formula. So a trapezoid is a 4-sided shape, or it's a quadrilateral, with one set of parallel lines. Your parallel lines are going to be your base 1 and your base 2. Those are your two parallel lines. and it says on a trapezoid, base 1 and base 2 are two parallel lines. The height is always the distance between the bases. So your height is always going to be the dotted line or one of your straight lines. Okay? And your height is essentially perpendicular to your base. That's kind of what you want to think about. To find the area of a trapezoid, you're going to use the formula of the height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2, which you're like, oh my God, that sounds so complicated. It is not. You just have to think for a minute. It's a couple extra steps. All right, your A stands for area, your B1 and B2 stand for your bases, and your H stands for the height. Now, here's that special thing where it says you can also break a trapezoid into rectangles and squares and then combine the areas of those. What that means is I can take this piece right here and I can move it over here. And now this piece is gone, and what shape do I have right here? A rectangle. And that just becomes base times height. Okay, but you have to be really careful when you do it that way. All right? So this little bit is that example right there. So please do this example so you understand what that means as well. Draw your arrow. Stand up when you're done. All right, have a seat. So when we are finding the perimeter, ladies and gentlemen, what four numbers are we going to use? When we find the perimeter, what four numbers are we going to use? Okay, the outside, so you're using the outside numbers. When we find the area, we'll talk about that in a second. So find the perimeter. Stand up when you have it. All right, so what is 2 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8? 2 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8. BK.
24 inches.
Perfect. All right, now this is where the perimeter comes in, or sorry, the area formula comes in, and it's a little bit difficult. So let's talk about this first. So it says the height times the base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. We're actually going to move the height to the back side. And in parentheses, that's where I'm starting. So base 1, doesn't matter if it's the top or the bottom. Which number do we want to put first? Isaac.
The 8 inches.
Okay, so 8 plus 2 divided by 2. And then what is our height? What number are we using for our height? Kira? 5. All right, so this is just simply an order of operation now. So we have to do, what's 8 plus 2? All right, so then I have 10 divided by 2 times 5. So this becomes, what's 10 divided by 2? 5. And then 5 times 5 becomes 25 inches squared. So again, it's a scary looking formula, but it's not that hard. All right, thumbs up when you're done. Okay, the way that I want you to glue this in, you're gonna put glue in the corner, not the corner, sorry, a little bit on the inside, because there's a lot of information on here, and you wanna make sure that you don't cover any of it up. Not this, no. I mean, this is part of it, but not the whole thing. All right, once you have that done, turn the page, and I need you to write on the next blank left page, formula cheat sheet. And that is this piece of paper that I pass out to you guys. You can glue this down, all the way down. All right. So, what was the very first formula that we learned? For what shape? No. That we learned today on our notes that we literally just took. Okay? Again, I'll ask. What is the very first shape that we talked about? Silas? Huh? All right, so we're going to write rectangle / square because you use the same thing. And the formula that you used to find a rectangle or square was what? What's your formula? Guys, just... All right, so at this point I need you to not be lazy right now. I need you to turn back in your notes that we literally just glued in and say, what is the formula for a square, bless you, / rectangle? Everly.
It is length plus width.
A equals length times width. Y'all, you got to get it together. Like, again, this is something you've already learned. So the fact that I had 3 people raise their hand and then we couldn't even tell, it's super aggravating right now. Please don't aggravate me. Please don't. It's not hard. Look in your notes. So I need to find a parallelogram. What is the formula for a parallelogram? Again, look in your notes. Turn a page. Don't stare at me. I'm not going to give you the answer. Look in your notes. Silas.
Area equals base times height.
All right, the next one is a triangle. What is our formula for a triangle? Technically, I gave you two that you can pick from. Give me one of them. Samantha,
A equals half divided by B times H.
not half divided by, just half times base times height. What is the other one that I did tell you that you could use if you wanted to? And let me write this way. So half times base times height. Okay? What was the other way that you can find the area of a triangle? Again, it's in your notes if you copied it down. Silas.
Base times height divided by height.
Base times height divided by 2. Okay? And then the last one is a trapezoid. What's the formula for a trapezoid? Kira?
It was height base plus base divided by 2 times. I can't see this. I can't do that. Yeah, base plus base divided by 2 times height.
Now, we will continue to add to this as we go through and talk about surface area and those kinds of things. You need to refer back to your notes. You need to refer back to this sheet. You need to refer back to anything and everything that you get. This is something you are going to have to study. This is not something that is just going to be, it's not rocket science, but it's also not going to be the easiest if you are like clueless today. I know it is first day back after 5 days, but we still got to keep learning, guys. We have to. All right. Slide over in your notebook. You need to title it Homework Area of 2D Shapes. You do not need the scissors anymore, so you can go ahead and put those away. You're not going to need the glue anymore, so you can also put that away. We should not be throwing anything. All right, you are going to notice that the left side of your homework, it's going to be rectangles / squares and parallelograms. You can do all of your work on the left side of your paper. Like it gives you information, gives you lines, everything. Okay? You have 2 word problems. Again, you have enough room that you should be able to do your work and I should be able to read it. The area of triangles and trapezoids is not going to be the same. You are going to have to do your work in your notebook for this side. So this side, you can do your work. Okay, so write that for the left side. You can do your work on this sheet. Everyone write that. I mean, if you want to do it in your notebook, you can, but I'm allowing you to do your work here. Thumbs up when you're ready to move on. On the right side, you cannot do your work on this sheet. So where do you think you have to do your work for that sheet? In your notebook, okay? What is the other thing that you have to do with your answer choices? What do you have to include?
The square.
Yes, the square units. Whatever unit it is, it's whatever squared. All right, I want to go over number 1 with you guys on the left side just so you have an understanding of the expectation for that side. So, looking at number 1, it says determine the area of the rectangle. So our formula is what? Raise your hand.
May I have your attention, please?
Silas.
8th grade teachers, please send your students who need to do picture retakes to the auditorium at this time. Thank you.
All right, so for the top 4, it is asking you to write the formula for each one of these. That is part of your answer. Then it says plug in values. So then I'm going to write A equals 12 times 6. 12 times 6. Plug it in. Do the math. So then A equals, what is 12 times 6? Raise your hand. Christian?
72.
Not 72. It's not 72. Why is it not 72? 70 what?
72 squared.
No, 72 inches squared.
Wait, no, did feet?
Sorry, feet. Same thing. It's all the same. No, it's not. 72 feet squared. So if you just wrote 72, you would not get credit for your homework. You've got to get used to writing whatever the unit is squared. Okay? So again, you have the room up here to do these 4, these 2, and this one, all on this side. Let's do number 1 on this side. Okay, so in our notebooks. So this one says, find the area of a right triangle with a height of 8.5 feet and a base of 15 feet. So I annotate it because why? I heard a lot of mumbling. Why did we annotate it? It's a word problem. All right, so number 1, if I can get my notebook right. We're finding a triangle. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write the formula to find the area of a triangle. So I'm going to write A equals half the base times the height. So then A equals half times, what was my height? What was my base? So what was my height? What was my base?
Your height was 8.
Sam.
Your height was 8.5 and the base is 15.
All right, so I'm going to do half times 15, and then I'm going to do times 8.5. All right, well, what is half of 15? What's half of 15? It's half of 15. Yes, you can.
Oh, yeah.
You can half 15.
7.5.
You can half 15, y'all. It's allowed. If you divide 15 divided by 2, you get a number. I promise you, you can half it. Zach. Zach, what is half of 15?
7.5.
All right, so then I'm going to do 7.5 times 8.5, just because I don't like fractions. And then when you do 7.5 times 8.5, I'll give you your answer. You end up with 63 and 7/500 feet squared. Now, obviously I spread that out so you guys can see each thing. You don't have to put that much space in between each problem. But that is essentially what you have to do for the right side. All right. You are going to obviously spend the rest of the class period working on your homework. I'm going to make this homework due Wednesday. Okay, so you do have, because there's, again, we're getting back into the swing of things. So hopefully Wednesday, everybody has their work done. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
Can we turn it tomorrow?
No. All right, now I need everybody to put your pencils down and I need you to listen to this next bit that I have to tell you. Super serious. All right, as you noticed this morning, it said no Delta Math. The reason it said no Delta Math is because your progress reports went home and some of you guys might be like, oh my goodness. Your Delta Math this week is going to be for extra credit. It will replace whatever lowest grade you want it to replace, whether it's a 0 for classwork, whether it's to fix a quiz grade, or it's to add some points to a test grade. Okay? Now, if you do 100% of the extra credit, like if you do all of the Delta Math for this week, you get 100%, which means, like if you have a 0, it becomes a 100. Okay? If you do 75%, you, again, can replace a 0 with a 75%. If you do 20%, you can replace a 0 with a 20%, which is better than nothing, right? Now, if you're like, I'm good, I'm happy with my grade, I don't need extra credit at all, you don't have Delta Math this week. It is not going to hurt you if you don't do it. It can only help you this week. Does that make sense? So there's no Delta Math due on Friday, unless you're doing it for extra credit. Okay? Does that make sense? And whatever amount of extra credit you decide to do Delta Math wise, you get. Does that make sense? There will also be a extra credit, if you look on the calendar for the 30th, the extra credit begins. So there you have technically 2 extra credits this week that you can work on. But I want you to understand the fact that I see pencils in people's hand is making me want to give you the Delta Math with no extra credit. Put it down and just listen, please. I don't even know what I was saying. Get to work.